Hi everyone. Yes, so today we are going to look at a very important topic with regards to child upbringing, and that is the environment and your child. Yes, the environment plays a very important part in bringing up our kids. And so we would have to, or we will be considering certain important things that are related to the environment, as in bringing up your kids. Yes, the psychologists talk about the concept nature, nurture. And so those who are for nature uh, have the concept or the assertion that nature plays a major role in what or who a child becomes or an individual becomes. And so nature has already embedded in an individual some inborn potentials or inborn traits. Uh, Either they are inherited traits. So when the child is growing up, certain actions and inactions the child may be exhibiting maybe as a result of the traits that are already in him. Yes, we agree greatly that truly, there are some inborn traits in individuals. Yes, you realize that sometimes a child grows up and he will behave in the same way his father behaves, or he will be putting up a behavior or a character just like his father or his mother behaves or does. And so it is true that there are some inborn traits in each individual that need to be harnessed or need to be honed or shaped in order to achieve its full potentiality, for the child to achieve his full potentiality with regards to that aspect. That aside, the environment cannot be overruled in who or what a child becomes. That is very important. So, regardless of what traits, what inborn mechanisms that a person is having as a result of inheritance or naturally embedded in him or her, you need the environment to consolidate or to make up such potentials into something manifest. Yes, and so the environment, as we are talking about, plays a very important role in who or what a child becomes. Uh, there's a child professor called Isaac Barry Bono, as we all know from New York City, was asked about whether his parents had uh, influence in who he is as young as he is, at the age of I think 9 by then. Did his parents have influence in who he became as a mathematics and science guru? He says yes. He answered in the affirmative that when he began showing interest in solving mathematics questions as early as 2 years, showing interest in approaching mathematics, it was his parents who made materials available to him. You get it? Who assisted him in solving certain questions from the onset. You get it? And so the environment is very, very important as we are talking about in bringing up our children or our kids. So you ought to be deliberate about what your child sees, hears, and does around. You ought to be deliberate about who your child takes as a friend. You ought to be deliberate about what your child normally reads from books. Yes, you ought to be deliberate in order to shape who your child becomes. This is very, very important. So, as parents or as guardians, we should have this in mind that you can't uh, nurture a child among gangsters and expect to see a pope. It's possible it can happen, but then there is the much greater influence that the child is going to pick up the behavior of the people he mostly sees around him. That is why it is important that we become very deliberate about the environment we create for our kids, where the child schools, what the child sees, what the child does, the kind of things the child hears is very important. Now, if we consider developmental psychology, as early as 5 months, when a woman conceives, when the fetus is 5 months old in the womb, the fetus begins to hear loud sounds around him or her. It hears all these things. It hears things that are moving on around it, especially those ones that are very loud. If there is any noise, any sound that it is used to. Now, when the child is born, whatever sound that is most prominent or that is very common around it when it was in the womb, it becomes so sensitive to that sound. The child becomes so sensitive to that sound after he or she is born, and he or she continues to hear that sound. You get it? There has been some experiments which have been carried out in this regard, and so it is very important as parents we become very deliberate of the environment. We have to have a controlled environment as early as the child is, in order for us to get the results we want. We have to hone the child's potentials. Those innate potentials, those innate abilities need to be honed, need to be guided, need to be shaped for the child to become who we want to see he or she become. This is very important. Thank you very much for listening to me. I will be following up with more details with regards to environment and the child. And so stay tuned, subscribe to my channel, Marzouk bin Noor, and we shall be discussing more of such things regarding child upbringing and what psychology and counseling has to do in this regard. Thank you very much for listening to me. See you in the next video. Bye.